Since I've been studying here at RIT Dubrovnik, in Croatia, I've been kind of relatively thinking about this offer in tourism. Always speculated to me because I'm from California and I've seen the economic benefits from it and the neighboring states that, incorporated it into their system. And I would see a great driver of, economic development, agricultural development, and an alternative wellness industry here. Most definitely, you never know for the locals. So when I sent out this survey, I had to ask the locals, many countries and municipalities have legalized the consumption of cannabis or marijuana in recent years. Although cannabis consumption is currently not legal in Croatia, this thesis asks you to hold your biases about the potential possibility of cannabis tourism in Croatia. If legal restrictions were eliminated in the future, what would you guys think? What would the locals think? How would it incorporate into the tourist offer of Croatia? The reasons for asking locals on their views of cannabis tourism is a better understanding of residents' perceptions is a crucial form from a management perspective, as residential support is fundamental to achieve further development in tourism and enhance the offer, as the community satisfaction is important for development. Local communities play an important role in tourism development. They are regarded as a legitimate and moral stakeholders in that tourism development. Local communities have to be involved in policy and decision making so it will enhance the trust and confidence of the local people in that tourism industry. My whole goal and the whole plan, to send out this survey because I wanted to get the views from the locals, from the community, behind this tourism. I just thought broad as possible, and I only had a day to access the amount of locals I could. And in the end, I ended up getting around 226 respondents, but that was all by these Facebook groups. I got it on Hrvatska Apartmani and, Dubrovnik Apartmani, Zagreb, on all these various other, pages, and I did not get that. So I actually got denied on most of these pages, and which was pretty interesting. I ended up, sending out a 5-point Likert scale, 29 questions kind of based on the positive and negative results of cannabis tourism in Croatia. Of course, my pre-assumptions and my hypothesis, I speculated that the ages of 21 to 35, will be in favor of cannabis tourism. They'll be for legalization, and, the locals that are kind of on the opposite sense, from 35 plus, cannabis tourism will ruin kind of the image of Croatia, right? And that's what I think they'd just be thinking it's a deviant activity. And I would honestly assume that all of the locals would assume that cannabis tourism will ruin the image of Croatia. That was just my preconceived notion because of the result of Amsterdam in that sense. So the majority that ended up responding, of course, were women, again reflecting on everything. When my survey was posted, because it was on only these two pages of, Hrvatska Apartmani and Dubrovnik Apartmani, 91% of the respondents were from that Dubrovnik Neretva area on that side. I wish I could say it was the whole of Croatia, but, it wasn't in that sense. I got other, municipalities and counties. I ended up getting 7 of the counties in Croatia. So one thing I kind of want to work on in the future. Looking back on my hypothesis, as the more older generations, they were actually acceptable as well. Ages 35 and on, they were at 100% acceptance, completely agree. Legalization of marijuana and the development of cannabis tourism is good for Croatia. Only 62 of them, responded to the survey. I was anticipating a little more. I also thought the locals would think the image would be ruined in Croatia. They would kind of relate to a more of a deviance theory. More of the youth would kind of, want to do more and be more creative out there. In the end, for my discussion, this survey kind of wasn't a success for the overall view of the Croatians' perception on cannabis tourism. But I would say for the Dubrovnik area, most definitely, it's kind of like a little taste or a preview the locals could think. I would love to have a longer survey, in the future. Maybe more of a preference of kind of which cannabinoids, tourists or locals would like. Because there's just so many, and you need to expand the education behind this plant. And the amount of versatility this plant has is, is limitless right now, and we're really at the early adoption stage. We also need a kind of more definite cannabis tourist profile. What is the spending habits of this cannabis tourist? What is the age? What is the education level? And, it's kind of these different factors we need to know. Are they positive? Is that an incentive for these tourist destinations to adopt this, trending topic and trending industry? That's kind of that big question. looking back at what I wanted to do with this whole project and senior project, I was trying to tackle these 4 topics relative to Croatia. I was trying to improve their economic benefits of, GDP, trying to improve agriculture, PTSD, alternative treatments as well, and increase, rural tourism. Because these are all 4 topics that, if Croatia implements or, if Croatia improves on, all the lives would be better here. So that's one thing. Cannabis kind of marks all these points, which is pretty interesting when you look into it. But as well, cannabis has its negative effects. Everybody look into what you're doing before, educate yourself. That's the number 1 thing. If you'd like more videos about this topic, let me know. Or you want more education about cannabis and different cannabinoids, I'm right here with any questions. I would like to thank Professor Rebecca Cherry from RIT Dubrovnik for being my mentor and being the light at the end of the tunnel, because sometimes I didn't even want to do this project because of the kind of controversy behind it, ruining my image, especially out here of a more conservative view in Croatia. But I'm lucky I'm here in Dubrovnik where people are more open-minded, which is really grateful. But recently when I was up in Zagreb, and people were more acceptable about what I had to say, and they have a great community up there in Zagreb. I would like to thank my friends and family for being there for me every step of the way. This is just a light preview of what's going to be happening in the future with me and the whole cannabis industry. But in general of, the world, I'll be there to make things better. Thank you for everybody. This is Dubrovniko, signing out.